there's still plenty of uncertainty over the future of Jack Grealish at Man City. He fell down the pecking order under Pep Guardiola last season, has been tipped to leave since he was omitted from City's Club World Cup squad early this summer. Over the weekend, Grealish was spotted at the Oasis concert at Heaton Park and expressed his love for Man City, saying that he loves Man City more than anything. And well, one thing he actually said he loves more than anything is Man City's fans, who he believes are the best fans in the world. Despite all that, though, an exit this summer seems increasingly likely. A host of clubs from England and abroad have been linked with Grealish. Both loan and permanent moves have been mooted for the 29-year-old. But at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any particular club or clubs that have actually expressed a strong interest in Grealish. So his future's still very much up in the air. What do you make of Grealish's situation now, Stephen, at the moment, about a month or so until the season starts? Are you surprised that no clubs have actually expressed a firm interest in him at the moment?
Um, yes and no. I mean, the financial package to sign Grealish would be ridiculous, shouldn't it? Even just on loan. Look, I would guess when push comes to shove, City will accept some of the contracts maybe because he's on about 300 grand a week. He's one of the most highly paid players in English football. So there's very few clubs in England that can afford that. A lot of big clubs can, but I don't know how much they want to, given that Grealish, he turns 30 in September. I'm always aware because I'm exactly 10 years older than Grealish, same birthday and everything like that. So I'm staring down 40, he's staring down 30. But yeah, Jack, look, he's not young anymore. And as talented as he is, we're seeing so many teams. You look around at the teams that you'd think you would go to, someone like Newcastle, they just signed the Langer, he's obviously a sort of different position, but they've got Anthony Gordon as well. And they've got Murphy, they've got quality players that wide. And I don't think these necessarily the kind of guy who pay for a 10 as well for them. Spurs going down a different route under Thomas Frank. I don't think Grealish fits into that kind of route. Villa, maybe, but I just don't think they're going to retread that ground. 5 years ago, you could see loads of potential, options for him before he joined City, but it just seems hard. And then you're looking at a slightly lower tier of teams beyond that. Once again, you get into the financial issue and you get into the age thing. I think many teams will punt on loan for Jack Grealish. I think it's going to be a late in the window kind of deal where they look where the squad's at and eventually City go like we're gonna have to move him on here, and I think we're all very aware that he's probably not coming back to the first team. It was very obvious that there's something going on there between Guardiola and Grealish. I think Pep has been a massive defender of Jack. The impression I get, there's frustration there that he hasn't really maybe applied himself in the way that Guardiola would have wanted. And I love that, he's been so sweet about City fans, and I'm sure he means it. I'm sure he does love Man City because they give him, an incredible few years at City, and he's won everything there. I think Jack knows he's a very smart guy that way. He's good with people and he knows exactly what to say. And I'm sure he was honest because I'm sure he was having a great time, and I'm sure he was having a wonderful time at Oasis and very much feeling the love. But I think, sometimes things run their course. And last season, for a player of his quality to barely get on the pitch and be paid £300,000 a week. Look, I think I was reading some post online, and he's like 10% of City's sort of financial budget, in terms of wages, and that like individually. And that's an awful lot for one player who offered so little last season. So as much as I love Jack as a person, I think he's wonderfully likable, one of the most likable footballers in the world. Just so down to earth and so charming. We also can't deny the fact that I think Guardiola wants it to work, but it isn't working. And I think Jack hasn't taken it very well. There's been a few signs here where he's been a little bit defensive online, replying to people in Instagram comments. And I think he's probably been scorned a little bit because I think it takes a bit of a hit to the pride to be sort of left behind. But I think it's over. City are trying to move on. And in every single way, financially, age, and also I think sort of we've seen the best of him. It just makes sense for it to go. I don't know where he'll go. I think it will be alone though. Towards the end of the window, I can see some team looking at their squad and going to City looking for a bit of a bargain and maybe getting Jack Grealish for just half his wages or something like that.
Yeah, I think if it was to be a loan, you'd probably expect City to pay some of that wage as well, if it's around 300 grand a week. And I mean, if it was a permanent, there's been suggestions that City value him at around 40 million pounds. I think that's a fair price for Grealish if they were
Yeah,
to sell him.
it is. It still is. I mean, Grealish at his very best is an incredibly unique player. Look, a lot's been made about it, whether Guardiola sort of stifled him. He didn't. I think that's not true. I think players, you're either good enough to be who you are. Look, like, did Guardiola stifle Mahrez or Sterling or Kevin De Bruyne or Messi or the plethora of brilliant wingers at Bayern? Like, or who? He didn't. We know that's not true. I think some players just suit life at the very top a bit better, and some people don't. And Grealish had a really good spell around the treble. He just couldn't keep it up for his own personal reasons. So there is a narrative around him, but I think the perception of that is reasonably positive towards Grealish, if that makes sense. It's a negative narrative, but it paints Grealish in a light of being a really talented footballer that can still thrive elsewhere. And I think a lot of people will look at Grealish and feel that. Football has changed a bit in the Premier League over the past few years. It is more intense, more organised, and more structured. Grealish isn't afraid to work, to be fair to him. Um, but I can see why a lot of people want fast pacey wingers out wide, given it's more transitional based and everyone works really hard. But there will be a team who, if you look at Grealish, you think that guy could be, the difference between, mid table and challenging for the Europa League or something like that, because he does have that level of quality. I don't think he's humble enough to take a bit of a step down from City as well. I'm sure he won Champions League football or Europa League football, but I think he has to be realistic. He's not going to go to Chelsea or Liverpool, Arsenal, teams like that. Newcastle, as we discussed, Spurs. It's weird to say that given they finished so low, but Spurs are traditionally a different side to that. Villa. Who knows? Maybe it could be the Saudi coming through. Look, if the Saudi league carries on this recruitment that they've got, Jack Grealish is an incredible, pull because he's such a marketable player, very talented. The league will enjoy Jack Grealish, and I can imagine him going over there. Jack Grealish is very much the guy who goes on holiday to that area. He's always posting photos of him training over in the Middle East and stuff like that. So, yeah, maybe the Saudi league will come in for him, and at that point, 30, 40 million. It's not unreasonable. It's just I can see why, given the wages, people wouldn't go in for him and his age. It is a fair fee for a player of his quality because what you get 3 years of Grealish creating really well as a 10 for you. But I also get the caution.